off your suit.
Hello, beautiful people. I am Oliver Perrin, joined today by Mr. Tim Rudisil from Eastern Tennessee. We are together here within a safer space. And today we will be talking about this media circus of distractions. Things like security clearances and Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort and all this sort of nonsense. Michael Avenatti, Stormy Daniels, all this crap that is essentially blowing past us at this moment. We have apparently begun this quickening as we get into the last 3 months before the midterms, and there's all sorts of entertaining nonsense, almost as though we're underneath a P.T. Barnum big tent. So we'll be talking a bit about that, Cohen, Manafort, and the rest, as I said. Before I turn it over to Tim.
I like to think that we aren't under the big tent so much as we're walking down the main aisle, you know, and the freak show is calling us over. Hey ya, come on over this way. See the two-headed lady.
Yes. And it's just as horrifying and just as strange, just as ultra. But before we get to that, I will turn it over to you, Mr. Tim. But I do want to remind everyone to stay subscribed to Semiagog. As most people know, there are 2 content strikes. I'm waiting for them to expire. In the meantime, I'm using this channel, A Safer Space. Please subscribe to both channels. Please stay subscribed. That's the only way to fight back against the ongoing and increasing censorship brought to us by the various social media players. Please consider following this channel on Twitter. Please consider following this channel on Gab, on Minds, and Patreon is there for those who are interested in supporting the channel. For those who are doing it already, I thank you very much. For those who aren't, that's fine too. Thanks for watching. And in particular with Twitter, I really hope people will consider getting onto that platform and following Semiagog there, simply because it seems a great opportunity to pack that supposedly liberal resource with more conservative, traditional, or dissident right voices in order to change the dialogue there. Just something I'm doing in the background. So with that...
Remember, this is supposed to be a safer space. A safer space now, Ollie.
It is a safer space. Please forgive me for being so unconcerned with people's feelings and the possibility of them taking offense. So yes, we have all kinds of stuff going on with shit happening in the background. You know, they have treated this thing with the I think 8 of the many other charges that were brought against Manafort. He's been convicted of, and he still has at least one other trial that's going to happen in some different district. I think this one was in Alexandria and something else maybe in D.C. I can't remember. And then right around the same time, we learned that they put the big squeeze on Cohen and for, you know, some sort of tax violations or something. And as a result of that, it seems he has been pressured to sign his name at the bottom of a piece of paper that says that the president told him to pay off Stormy Daniels. And, you know, you got the question of whether or not him paying Stormy Daniels off or Trump paying Stormy Daniels off, if any of that actually amounts to any kind of a crime. Because from what I've heard, the violations of election code are really up in the air in a lot of ways. They get used for all kinds of things, but it has to be argued out in court. And the chances of this really having any major effect legally on Trump seem to be close to nothing. Apparently, they tried to do something like this with John Edwards in the past and failed in doing so. And again, I'm going to turn it over to you, but the last thing I want to mention is this business of the security clearances. And this in particular feels really, it's very interesting to me because the business with Brennan is just the surface. I think the removal of his security clearance is part of a much bigger strategy that fits together perfectly with things you and I have talked about in the past. You essentially completely cut off the entire previous generation of no longer in public service, but now in the private sector politicians, if you can really move forward with this business of revoking security clearances and making it much, much harder for people to keep them. One of the things I heard suggested, I think, by a congressman or a senator was that you could come in and, or maybe it was, what's his name, Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch, can't remember, but somebody said, well, what you could do is just make it standard for them not to have their clearances, and someone will need to make a special argument in order to keep them, and that in and of itself would do enough. So you basically cut this previous generation of office holders free from their inside connections, which would render the entire network of such people obsolete. And any attempt to convey...
Unless they wanted to break the law.
Exactly. I was just about to say, any attempt to convey information to these people, if the security clearances become revoked, they turn into punishable crimes. And that's why I think Trump is moving towards some sort of action towards broader reform as regards security clearances. And I think he's going to do it fairly soon. He may be waiting for the midterms to go through and to have enough seats in the House and Senate to make it a done deal. But essentially, I think what he's aiming to do, it's kind of like closing on the door on a snake that's halfway through, right?
Actually, he doesn't have to wait on anything to go through to make it doable. He has the ability, as President of the United States, Chief Executive Officer of this grand republic, to say, no, you don't have a security clearance. We can't tell you jack shit.
And as soon as he does it, like I said, catch a snake going, through the doorway and close the door on it, you cut it in half. And the business of it basically fucking Brennan publicly, making him seem to be even more of a fool. That's just lagniappe.
Yeah.
So that's the gist.
That's why they picked him.
Because he fits so well. Not to mention he's got that lurch face. He looks like a Frankenstein's monster. But so that's the business that had occurred to me about security clearances. But we've got Cohen and Manafort and the rest. Stormy Daniels, Avenatti. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I would say to you that Mr. Avenatti,
running for president soon.
Yes, he's running for president. I wish him luck. I don't see him having much of a chance. He's just trying to make a lot of waves and get some more publicity going and get some more clients. Mr. Avenatti has been, shall we say, bought and paid for. And I don't mean by Stormy Daniels. I mean, the broad's still out there shaking her tits and her butt on stage. She hasn't got the money for an Avenatti. She doesn't know what she's bitten into. She's going to find out, though. It's going to be... I feel very sorry for her. She's an old girl. And probably a good old hole,
Front hole or back hole?
I don't think she really cares. That's why she always lies on her belly like a reptile. That way you can reach either one you want. But at any rate.
Right, but I did see she got busted, I think in Ohio or whatever, for doing the feature act, which, for those who've never been into one of these clubs of ill repute, it entails, squeezing people between her silicone appurtenances and posing within giant assemblable plastic champagne glasses on stage and this kind of crap. So as Tim said, if she's running the feature circuit through the strip clubs, she's a bare one step ahead of just your normal stripper in terms of income.
Well, I knew an old girl in the business that got out of the business when she was real young and was fine to look at. Big old tall girl. And she stayed married for a while and then got a divorce after having had a couple of kids and turned real matronly, came back, tried to dance again. And her comment on the whole thing was, I used to be Gemini. Gemini was her name.
Stage name, yes.
Her stage name. I used to be Gemini. Poor old thing. I don't know what she wound up doing, but it wasn't stripping anymore.
Time keeps on slipping. Yeah.
away, away.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it does.
As
That's all right. In those days, I was much muscled.
time changes. Yep.
Yeah, it does. I used to be Tim.
So what do you think about, I guess we could start with Manafort.
Oh, Manafort's a good place to start. They had him on, what was it, 18 counts?
Something more than 300 years of exposure.
Yeah, well, he's still got plenty of exposure. The thing is, they got him now to where he's been found guilty of 8, and they're deciding whether or not they want to retry on the other 10. I give a fuck. All of this took place long before he got involved with Trump.
Yeah, but what about the business of, as Dershowitz puts it, and it has become a meme or a talking point, let us say, the idea of composing versus singing. Do you think that there is any possibility that they'll be able to put enough pressure on Manafort that he will compose? My guess would be that someone has explained it to him gently, but...
My guess is that at his age, any prison time at all is a life sentence. All right, he's in his 70s. He's going to go somewhere like Lexington Federal Medical Institute, all right, which has some of the worst health care that you can imagine, and some of the best in the business, or did it in my day. He's looking at a life sentence. He's looking at having his fortune completely destroyed. Everything about him is destroyed. All he's got to do is hang tight, and Trump will pardon him.
You really think Trump
That's all
will?
he's got to do. Sure. Trump's already said he feels very bad about Manafort.
And he signaled by giving all kinds of people pardons.
Yeah. That's why he gave the pardons earlier. So that everybody would see, oh, he does wield the pardon pen. This is what our boy Cohen doesn't understand. Cohen's going to go all the way up to it. He's pled out. He's gotten in there. He's going to get in there, and he's going to compose, and he's going to lie. And what he's trying to do is save some of his fortune. What he doesn't realize is Trump could make his fortune again for him. Again, with the flick of a pen. Not even his pen, somebody else's pen. Cohen is a fool. But then that was evident from the beginning that Cohen was an idiot. He was kept around just as a sort of a gopher lawyer, a transaction lawyer, somebody who did what you told him, who would go out of his way to make sure everything went well, and was not a lawyer worth fuck. I mean, this is obvious from the list of clients he had. He doesn't have any clients.
And shit like taking a commission off of a $30,000 handbag sale. It's like, what?
Yeah, this is like Tip City.
Right.
This is small time nonsense. If they think for a minute that Trump has anything that he said to this turkey, then they're barking a tree, the wrong tree. At any rate, I don't see him doing much of anything except get his own ass in a world of shit and wind up doing some federal time. He'll wind up doing 4 or 5 years, probably to camp. Be good for him. He'll learn all about it.
Ugh.
It won't matter. But Manafort is Manafort's the one that he's a fuck up. Manafort, Cohen, all these people they have with Trump are fuck ups. They haven't really got the people who amounted to anything. Because they are, shall we say, they're not interested in being front page news in anybody's book. Never have been.
Right. That's why they employ frontmen.
Mm-hmm. But, that's just more of Mueller's chasing things around and around the circus.
It looks like what's his name, Papadopoulos, might be backing up from his plea deal.
Papadopoulos' wife.
Yeah, and then there's
yeah,
she looks like a minder. And then there's what's his name?
She thought she'd marry the real streak there.
She's like, "Where's my goddamn meal ticket? I bought a meal ticket. Where the fuck did it go?
Where's my meal ticket?
Let me roll up my sleeves and see if I can fix this here with a little bit of estrogen." Well, we'll see.
There you are.
It may well be that the tide going back out again, pulls Papadopoulos out of this mess, just because from Trump's perspective, it'll look better for PR to see, yeah, well, they got Manafort and what's his name, but these totally fell through. I think another one, that's going to be likely what happens with Flynn. That Flynn will
really,
back
you think?
Right up out of it.
I think so too. I noticed nobody's been sentenced and committed yet.
Yeah, the suggestion that the talking heads are going over is that in Manafort's case, that gives them time to try to, bring pressure again. Well, we haven't sentenced you yet. It's just such a mockery. Like, that's one of the best things that's ever happened is, we've been talking. I mean, I remember dozens, if not scores of conversations we've had, maybe hundreds, about how corrupt the justice system is and how things like RICO and the federal conviction rate and the pressure they bring to bear on everyone, the total abuse of the system. It's just another thing to thank Trump for, is that he's brought this to the fore. I'm watching people on Fox News, conservative people, Judge Janine, a former judge, and people who are former U.S. attorneys and stuff, getting out there and saying, yeah, the FBI system is totally corrupt. This is crazy. Tucker Carlson saying it's like a banana republic with their conviction rates. And who'd have thought it would be the Republicans in Fox that for the first time would be discussing that this shit is totally unacceptable.
Now, you've seen Manafort's prosecuting attorney, right?
That Weissman, who's got a very fucked up track record of his own, or whatever his name is.
Have you looked at the sneer on that motherfucker's face?
Yeah, it seems inbuilt.
Yeah.
He's got one hell of a case of resting bitch face.
Yeah. Not a good face to have as the face of prosecution.
One wonders if that's what motivated Judge Ellis, to be so caustic.
I don't know about that, but I'll tell you this. I would be willing to bet that a lot of people who saw that originally thought that, Manafort probably deserves it. But after seeing that guy's face, they went, nah, fuck, man. Nobody deserves this bitch ass after him. Because he's a bitch ass motherfucker. Bitch ass. I am sorry. There's no way to say it except that. He is a snide, snarling. God. He just reminds me of everything that I hate about the federal justice system.
Well, having enjoyed its tender mercies, yeah.
Well, yeah, I've enjoyed its tender mercies, but at the same time, and by the same token, I'm willing to grant that there are some prosecutors who do their jobs. But I'm going to tell you right up front, I ain't seen any of them lately.
Right. So it sounds like the gist of all of this is that you don't see any of this being really meaningful in any way or having any significant negative effect on Mr. Trump.
Oh, no. I don't see it at all. Trump is, way too smart for these motherfuckers. He's seen them coming miles and miles and miles away. Not a thing in this universe these boys can do to Trump, as far as I can tell. He's basically he's letting them carry on their distractions and their freak show until his time. You see, until his time comes.
And he mentioned that in this recent rally in West Virginia, where he was up there talking to the people, and he said, people are asking me why I'm not getting these deals finished. Now, I didn't bring up any of the legal stuff or any of the deep state, counterattack or any of that. He just talked about, with, this trade deal and, that such and such, whatever it is.
Sure.
And, sorry, my headphones just freaked out on me here. Got to turn them down again. There's a short in them that sometimes comes up. But anyway, he did say in the West Virginia speech, he's like, everybody giving me a hard time. These things have to cook for a little while.
That's it.
My mother, when she was making a Thanksgiving turkey, I said, 8 hours, but it was his beautiful common touch discussion where he got the point across, and I think everybody understood. It's got to marinate a little longer. It's got to simmer or whatever. That's right.
Got to bake some more.
Which I guess brings us rhyming. Bake some more brings up the subject of Orr.
Because good old Mr. Orr.
Yeah, he's about
that middle-level bureaucrat, that low-level figure.
Right, and somebody on one of these Fox News shows mentioned that it's total absurdity to call him a low-level figure. The guy pointed out that Orr has ascended to the highest level that anyone who's a career FBI guy can. It's actually the top position for
Rear
someone
justice.
Who's not a political appointee.
That's it.
And he is about to have to spill his guts in front of House, maybe House and Senate. In all likelihood, it'll probably be both. But yeah.
Doesn't matter. He's going to get up there and he's going to find out the deep state can't protect him. Not only can't, they won't. And he's going to go, oh, goodness, let me sing. It's going to be one of those toreadores, toreador. Be wonderful.
Now, I did notice that they're having him come in first, and then they'll talk to Nellie Orr, his wife from the private sector at Fusion GPS, and that must have been a calculated decision as well.
Really? You suppose? In other words, Mrs. Orr, now we can roast your hubby.
Or he's already roasted. You want it to be you too.
Could be. They're less kind than I am. I'm prone to think of letting people off. But apparently they want to get in there and wallow in their guts. Which is good, dogs do it. They find a nice piece of old carrion out there somewhere, nice piece of roadkill, and wallow in it and do shoulder rolls and all that. It's good. There's not going to be any real problem with Orr. He's cooked his goose, man. He's gone around the FBI. He's gone around everybody. They're going to take his pension and everything he's got.
What do you think is ultimately going to happen with Brennan?
Mr. Brennan is probably going to be subjected to some serious questioning, which is going to be after the midterms and done probably by the FBI coming out of Utah. Now, whether he ever gets punished for it, that leaves still in the trial. We have to decide whether or not he's worth it. Do we want to go after the people that started off as political appointees and then switched over to career track at CIA, NSA, all these places, because he knows them. Now, like all communist voters, prone to have, I don't know, probably the balls of the average macaroon, which is to say fluffy and nothing happening with them. Well, I like macaroons. They're good.
So, from what I'm hearing from you, relative to Trump, it sounds like there's no trouble on the bridge of this ship.
None whatsoever. That's why they're trying to make it such a big deal. Everybody's excited about it. Well, that's fine. Get excited about it. Get all excited, bent out of shape, get everybody talking about everything in the universe. Get them all head up, because he's got several news cycles to go. And this is just more detritus, more washed up on the reef bullshit. It really doesn't matter, Ollie. What you've got to look at is the main score. And the main score is not being watched here.
Pray tell.
See, well, Mueller and all the rest think that this is big doings. This is main stuff. This stuff amounts to something. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it obviously doesn't. What really amounts to something is what's going on in Utah, what's going on with Jeff Sessions, what's going on in the other branches of the Department of Justice that Mr. Orr and Mr. Strzok and all the rest of these people have been cut out of. Been real quiet, hadn't it?
Well, I mean, there was that thing about that passed through Twitter. You may or may not have seen it reflected elsewhere.
It was on Twitter. I did see it.
But it may have been, as I say, reflected elsewhere. But basically, it's a big-ass government airplane, FBI, DOJ, I don't know. The story is that by cross-referencing the tail numbers or whatever, they were able to figure out what it was. And it's a big-ass, as I said, I think DOJ or FBI airplane, big one. Cargo plane that landed in Arkansas and basically picked up all of the many boxes of documentation that have been involved, or that have accumulated as a result of the investigation into the Clinton Foundation. So apparently this plane flew in and picked up crap cans worth full of documents, and it's come back for a second run.
Where did it go to after it went to Arkansas?
That I do not know, but
I see.
The way the story is being pitched is that it is part of the FBI tightening up and saying these are no longer going to be simply dragged out show investigations that don't actually have any substance.
My goodness, you suppose that's probably some of those real live G-men FBI agent fellers? Not them political appointees and Strzok type fellers. My goodness. You don't suppose they're going to get in there and sweat a little bit on this shit, do you?
I sure hope they do.
You notice that the DOJ has been called in now through the FBI because the Democratic Party says they've discovered that some Russians tried to hack their computers.
Just saw that today, supposedly related to the elections.
Yeah. Boy, it's serious shit now. I wonder if they'll drag out those old servers.
If they're still there to be dragged out, yeah. There may well be impressions of them. The story goes that the FBI did some sort of complete copy, that they kept for their records or something. We'll have to wait to see what has disappeared and what hasn't.
Going to be interesting, isn't it? I saw that Chelsea fired a shot across the bows,
saying that she might run for office.
Yeah.
Hardy har.
Yeah. I didn't realize they needed a dog catcher up where she was.
Yeah, it sounds like they may well get done. The Clintons may well get done like the Kennedys did here ultimately.
Well, that'd be about as useful. They kind of like tits on a boar when you don't need them anymore.
Yeah, they just end up going away.
Well, they don't go away so much as they kind of corrode along the public policy lines. Just kind of hang there like old corrosion. It just, boy, I tell you, there's something. They really are. I've never in my life seen such people. They have nothing to recommend them. No stomach, no bowels, no balls.
People of the future.
If that's the future, you can keep it.
Yeah, I feel much the same way. Well, then in a summary, Avenatti, Stormy Daniels, Cohen, Manafort, Mueller's
I used to be
shenanigans.
Stormy Daniels. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a certain point where, the tit flesh sagging towards the belt line cannot be um, repaired or restored in any way by the addition of further silicone.
Now they actually have to take some of that shit out and take some flesh off and do all sorts of things. It gets exciting.
Move the nipple around.
Yeah, got to move everything around, get it all set up again. Stormy Daniels starting off as a 34B.
But, given this rogues gallery of fuck ups that, I just recited, the list of some of the members of that group, I just mentioned, what do you in summary think we're looking at here?
I think we're looking at a massive stripping of security clearances. I think we're looking at a situation in which, if Trump's got any fucking sense, he'll strip everybody who used to be a government employee of all of their security clearances and make it so that everybody who gets out of public service now loses their security clearance immediately with the doorknob turning as they go out. They lose the clearance. That's simple. Because, to be honest with you, it serves no purpose.
And it's also, that's where I feel quite certain that's got to be where 90% of the leaks are coming from, because the simple fact that they have the clearance makes it not a crime for it to be discussed, where the moment they lose it, as we talked about, suddenly all that shit has been interdicted.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you don't suppose. There you are, sir. Like I say, everybody loses their security clearance. They shouldn't be allowed to keep it in the first place. Serves no purpose. If I've got a security clearance and I'm working for the CIA, DEA, FBI, whoever, and I want to talk to you and you don't have one, I'm asking you questions. I'm not giving you information. I'm asking you to give me information. Golly, Ollie, you don't need a security clearance to give me information. That's knowledge you have. You don't need a security clearance to share that knowledge with me. Not me, because I have the security clearance. You can ask me up front, what's your security clearance, Tim? And if I say Q, well, then there we are. The most you can do is ask me to prove it. Once I have proven it, then you can spill your entire guts to me. Because you're not receiving information, you're conveying it. That's what everybody misses. Security clearances only matter if I'm giving you information. You don't have to have a security clearance to give me information. I've got to have one. Just odd little piece of information there, And
the rest of the marching dill rods, the ship of fools.
Oh, I think they're going to sail along, drinking champagne in their bubbles, right up till the last minute when Trump rings down the Utah state bell on them. And Mr. Sessions comes out and goes, oh my goodness, this is just more than I ever anticipated. Well, I guess it's good I recused myself in the first place, isn't it? Come on, man. It's almost time. Right now, we're just walking up and down the main stream, the main aisle of the fair. And everybody, Mr. Mueller included, is standing out front with his little cane, his little hat going, hey ya, step right this way. See the two-headed lady with the beard. She's got a beard. I tell you, she's got a beard. And I don't mean between her legs. And it's just wonderful. we got the donkey-headed boy, and we've got all of that stuff going on. And it means nothing to the main show, which is going on in the main tent. 3-ring circus. But everybody's got to have a lovely little thing called a freak show. Nothing like a good freak show, especially when it boils down to pardoning anybody you wanted to for whatever you wanted to pardon them for. Nah, Mueller is the best thing to happen to Trump in a long time. Every time something starts to happen, drag Mueller out. Sounds good to me. I'm for him. I think he's wonderful. I think he is a distraction par excellence. And I think that Mueller is going to wind up with his nuts in his hands. And all his little buddies that he got together to get after Trump are going to wind up not only without security clearances, but probably being disbarred. Or at least nobody's going to hire them for a damn thing. Because you can't do this kind of stuff to the American public without consequences. And the American people are getting mighty tired of Mr. Mueller, mighty tired of this little prosecutor of Manafort's. Even the judge is tired of that prosecutor. Now, I realize judges can't say anything, but he seemed to say enough to me. And one look at that boy's face, Lord have mercy. I had that keep him away from the dairy. He'll curdle the milk. Curdle the milk in a minute. Nah. It's all good. It's all good, Ollie. All chicken with the bill. That's chicken still.
Prison wisdom.